Okay, so this is something, this is a crazy rule that happened. So, if you have an Android phone that has an Android version lower than Android 15, you need to upgrade it. Unless it's gonna get Android 15. I have a Samsung Galaxy A14, and it's on Android 14, but it will get Android 15. So I think I'm fine. Well, Android 16 is the newest, so I don't know how that works. Because usually, when like a phone when a phone gets like an Android version, usually it's the latest version it gets. Like a phone on Android 14 normally when it get Android 15 when Android 16 is out. But anyways, your phone you probably need to upgrade your phone if you have a phone more than a few years. If it's an Android phone that's more than probably that's from like before 2023, you might need to upgrade it. Even if it gets updates still, like minor updates still, you might need to upgrade it still. Also, my birds are screaming, ignore them. That you might not hear them. But you will need to upgrade to Android 15, because new apps and app updates must target Android 15 or higher to be submitted to Google Play, except for Wear OS, Android Automotive, and Android TV apps. Those are just Android 14 and up. So any app after August 31st, 2025, or any update is going to require Android 15 and up. And some updates are required. So this means an update after August 31st, 2025 that is required and is gonna basically make any phone that is running a version lower than Android 15 completely unable to use that app. And eventually over time, in the next few months, any app that gets required update pretty much at all, if you have a below Android 15, is gonna become unusable. So once it gets a required update, you can't use it anymore. And the thing is, this is kind of unfortunate, because like some people are using like older flagship phones, and some people say it's best to use them. And those run on Android 10 and Android 11 often, and as of right now, they're still pretty usable. Because almost all apps work on them. Like, most apps are Android Nougat to Android Pie at most. But Android 15 and up is what they're doing now. I want to read more. Now you will be able to request an extension to November 1st, 2025. You need more time to update your app. I think this is... yeah. So that's kind of crazy, though. Because eventually, over the next couple of months, phones that use Android 10 and stuff, it's not going to work on. It's not going to work for them. And Android 13, and the reason why Android 15 and up is ridiculous is Android 13 and Android 14 are still supported. There are phones out there that still get updates on them. So that means you can have a phone that still gets updates and an app won't work on them. So, like, if you're using, like, let's say, a Samsung Galaxy S20 or S21, I think the S21 is Android 14, right? Maybe Android 15. But if you're using an S20, which I think that's still a somewhat common phone to use in 2025, you're running on Android 13, I think. This applies to you. And I think the S21 is the same. But this doesn't make sense, though, because this is just gonna pretty much affect, like, a significant amount of people using Android phones. They should probably send this to specific phones that, like, have this happening to, because once it happens, and a lot of people aren't gonna be prepared for it. And Android 14 is currently, I'm pretty sure, the most used Android version as a 2025 on the market or whatever. So that means a lot of those people aren't going to be able to use their phone anymore. Now, permanently private apps that are restricted to users in an organization. Now, the thing is, though, you can still use apps on the things, but you just can't get any updates after August 31st of this year. So, technically, apps might work, but they're eventually going to become slow, and there's going to become a required update, probably, and then you can't use the app anymore. But I don't know if you can even use those apps anymore. Another rule on here is that any app that has a version required that's below Android 11 and up, it's not going to work on phones that are later than Android 11. So let's say there's someone who's a Samsung Galaxy S9 that currently runs an Android 10. They think it's fine even though it hasn't got an update in like 2 or 3 years or whatever. Like a minor update or whatever in 2 or 3 years. They think it's fine though, because all apps they want work on Android 11. Android 11 is still like pretty usable in 2025. The phone works fine, although there might be a risk of malware or whatever, but they don't really care about that. They want to install, there's an app they always like to use, that's Android Marshmallow and up, Android 6.0, 6.01 or whatever. But the thing is that the app developer sees the thing going on, the policy that they're making, and they don't want their app to not work on people using newer phones. It's better because they think it's better to probably have like people on newer phones only than older phones only, because more people are going to be using newer phones than older phones. So the thing is, what they do is they change the policy. Well, they change the policy for the app to be Android 11 and up. So now this person that's using it, like this hypothetical person, using their Samsung Galaxy S9, can't use that app anymore. And any other app that comes out after this that requires an update, they won't get. That has an update, they won't get. And then once there's a required update, that app doesn't work on their phone anymore. And then once all apps have required updates eventually, no apps will work at all on their phone, and it's a brick. But, I don't know why they need to do Android 15 and up. I think that they should do Android 12 or Android 13 and up instead. And that's still pretty high. There's very few apps out there that are above Android 11 and up. This policy just doesn't make that much sense. It doesn't even feel real though, as well. I think it's pretty easy to find out your Android version. I think though eventually that, companies with like Android phones that have like ones that are on minor updates but are below Android 15, they're either just gonna like upgrade them to Android 15 eventually, which would be a bit of like which would kind of take a while and they might not fully work, or just completely end any updates at all on them. Because there's no point in giving a phone minor updates even at all if a ton of apps aren't even going to work on the phone in the first place, and people aren't even going to want to use the phone. So, yeah. Also, I think the LG V70, I don't know what Android version that is. I'll look it up, maybe. And I'll put it like in the video at the end, but I don't know. I don't think it's Android 15 and up though. I don't think it's above Android 15. I don't even know if it's Android 14, But I think if you have any LG phone at all, they ended like the update thing on like the update servers on that a while ago. So that means whatever update you're on it, you can't update it again. But like, so like you're definitely not going to get another update if you're on an LG phone. I don't think you have an Android 15 on any of them. So if you have an LG phone, you probably should get a new phone, even if you like LG. And if you don't, this definitely is going to affect your phone unless you have some custom ROM on it. But I don't know. But if you have an LG phone, if you can upgrade, you probably should. But that's all I'm saying. Bye.